There are 3 elements a writer needs to implement into his or her first episode to create an impactful and engaging introduction to their story. Everything hinges on the beginning. It does not matter if what precedes it is a masterpiece. A failed first impression yields a failure in its entirety. Contrary to the popular coined notion, the 3-episode rule, which I'll get into later in this video, most people decide whether a story is worth continuing based solely on the pilot episode. If it's not impactful, emotional, or enticing enough, no matter how good the plot becomes later on, people won't be there to witness it. This is a basic universal truth. Whether you're on a first date or seeking a job, you better freshen up your interview skills and wear cologne, because that engineering degree isn't actually as impressive as you think it is. Time is scarce, and little wants to be donated to a potentially terrible experience. Because of this, if you want to draw an audience in and have them care about your story, you need to deliver a worthwhile and meaningful experience from the start. You need to create a perfect first episode. My channel is dedicated to the importance of stories and the positive impact they can have on our lives. In this video, I will be analyzing 3 anime that I think exemplify what I believe a perfect first episode is. These anime are Chainsaw Man, Attack on Titan, and Death Note. There are 3 main factors each of these anime incorporate that make their first episodes so masterful. I will break down what these 3 elements are, what they mean, and how each of these anime utilize them in order to create an impactful, meaningful, and ultimately perfect first episode. The importance of a story lies in its ability to resonate with an audience. This is especially true for the first episode, as it serves to outline the themes, tone, and purpose. A story exists to provide value and insight to a person's life. If you can't pitch your introduction properly, the audience will never know the betterment your story can endow them with. The 3 factors that encapsulate a perfect first episode are being emotionally impactful, being character-driven, and having the ending mirror the beginning. To prevent this video from becoming an hour-long lecture, which I don't have the time to edit unfortunately, and to avoid the risk of dragging on and sounding repetitive, for the convenience of all of you watching and myself, I will be keeping all explanations fairly brief and only spotlighting specific scenes from each anime as examples to convey my point. If you like this video and are interested in more, please let me know in the comments below. In the future, I can create a more in-depth exploration of this topic based on your interest.
One more thing!
Before diving into these concepts, I want to clarify that while I focus on these 3 anime, they are by no means the only examples of a perfect first episode. Many other anime, as well as films and video games, also embody these qualities. These are just my personal favorites. Additionally, these 3 elements are not the sole indicators of a flawless introduction. There are numerous sub-elements that contribute to crafting a masterful opening. Feel free to share in the comments after you finish this video which anime you believe have a perfect first episode, along with the qualities or elements that make them so great. It's not about plot points, it's not about act structure, it's not about character, it's about emotion. The first episode is the most consequential because it sets the direction the story is to follow. Because of this, it must be enticing and engaging to the audience, and the key to doing this is through emotional impact. A story's success stems from its resonance. A story is an experience. Experiences are events that change and transform us, whether positive or negative. This is done through emotion. A story is realized when its experience is emotional enough to resonate with the audience. This is the moment they become immersed and thus invested. If this seems confusing at all, check out my previous video on how a story resonates with you where I go more in depth on this topic. In essence, emotion governs all aspects of storytelling. A person cannot care for a narrative until they are emotionally affected by it. A story is conceived, initiated, and authored by and through emotion and emotion alone. Make your first episode as emotionally impactful as possible. In Chainsaw Man, the first episode highlights the bond between Denji and Pochita. Denji discovered Pochita during the funeral of his father when he is whisked into the damning debt that was left behind by him. Pochita is injured and Denji permits him to drink his blood in return for his companionship. Neither feel they have much reason to live, but both still want to be alive. Their similar circumstances facilitate their enduring bond. Their tragic life is survived only through their friendship. When Denji is killed after being betrayed by his boss, his dismembered body is tossed into a dumpster. Pochita clings to life by a drop of Denji's blood. In a flashback, we learn that Denji once expressed his wish for Pochita to take over his body if he ever died, allowing Pochita to live a fulfilling life in his place. Pochita forms a new contract, sacrificing his heart to revive Denji so that he may continue living on and pursue his dreams for Pochita's sake.
Just so you know, I've always loved listening to you talk about your dreams, Denji.
Denji is thus revived with Pochita's soul residing inside him. Their deep friendship and bond create a powerful emotional impact, immersing the audience and making the first episode all the more poignant. Does Attack on Titan even need an explanation for this? Okay, I'll explain it still. Attack on Titan is the pinnacle of this principle. I was drenching my keyboard in tears trying to edit this section of the video. Its portrayal of tragedy, suffering, and utter despair, living at the mercy of the Titans beyond the walls, immerses the audience and establishes a profound emotional connection. As Eren and Mikasa watch the sorrowful soldiers return from their abortive venture, we are struck harshly with the reality of what living as cattle in a pen encompasses. A poor elderly lady emerges from the gathered crowd to ask the soldiers the condition of her son. The commander of the scouts must grievously inform her of the truth, that her son died a pointless and insignificant death by his leadership. The citizens, afflicted by the desolate atmosphere, express their disillusionment and frustration with the uselessness of the military. Eren is confronted directly with the fate of his dream and the conflicted desire for him to be part of the scouts. This moment, which occurs early in the episode, sets the tone and direction of the story and allures the audience into the riveting and emotionally gripping experience to transpire. In Death Note, the moment of emotional impact is when the gravity of Light's actions become palpable as he wields the Death Note and directly witnesses its effects. Initially dismissing it as a prank, Light's curiosity and desire to escape the monotony of his life leads him to test the notebook's power. His first test could have been excused as mere coincidence, but during the second test, when a biker gang attempts to assault a woman, Light is confronted with the undeniable evidence of the Death Note's legitimacy as one of the bikers is struck by a semi-truck after he writes his name in it. Upon realizing the Death Note's authenticity, Light initially reacts with shock and distress over the consequences of his actions.
I killed them both. I killed 2 men.
However, by the episode's end, we witness the depth of his obsession as he fills page after page with the names of criminals. He declares to Ryuk that only he can rightfully be the one to cast judgment unto others, and he will become God of the new world. These two scenes contrasted with each other build tension and suspense surrounding the notebook's power and Light's evolving response to it, emotionally engaging the audience and immersing them deeper into the world of the Death Note. To engage our audience and foster emotional investment in our story, it is essential to make it character-driven. At the outset, the focus should be on the protagonist rather than the plot. In fact, during the first episode, the plot is of little consequence. This initial segment serves as an introduction to the main character, not the world or its lore, which hold minimal importance at this stage. If the goal is to captivate and engage the audience, the story must resonate. As humans, we are inherently drawn to the emotional lives of others, forming deep connections with characters. Thus, a character-driven narrative is the most effective way to immerse the audience and hold their attention. A character-driven story is one that puts emphasis on character development, exploring the personalities, backstories, and emotional conflicts of the protagonist. The introduction of a story should focus on establishing the main character and providing a compelling reason for the audience to care about them. It should unveil key elements such as the protagonist's internal and external conflicts, personal flaws, and motivations. In essence, the first episode should revolve around the protagonist. Chainsaw Man begins with Denji marching towards a destination, uttering the revenue gained from belongings he's sold, including his precious jewels. As he reaches his destination to encounter a devil, we are informed that devil hunting garners higher pay than donating his balls. In the scene where Denji is resting with Pochita in what barely constitutes as a home, we learn that his father was indebted to a mafia organization, and his death leaves Denji to pay the consequence.
Look, kid, I don't care if you beg or whore yourself out. I want 700,000 yen by tomorrow.
Denji's life has been plunged into a living hell as he scrapes by as a devil hunter, using the meager earnings to pay off his father's debt. He has never known a normal or pleasurable life. Only Pochita offers him a glimpse of solace in his isolation. He is treated like a dog and must beg like one too in order to survive. He yearns for betterment, but the belief in it is loosely hoped for. He figures he'll die a devil hunter before ever experiencing freedom, leaving Pochita behind in the process. In Chainsaw Man, the first episode is entirely focused on Denji. None of the other characters are introduced, and there is little to no explanation of the lore or the devils. The narrative is driven entirely by Denji's character. The first episode focuses on presenting Denji to the audience, exploring his backstory, conflicts, and desires to create connection and resonance. The preceding episodes present everything else. The beginning of Attack on Titan starts with Eren awakening after having a perplexing dream. As he and Mikasa return home from gathering firewood, they run into Hannes, and an exchange of dialogue takes place. We learn from this scene that Eren has a bit of a temperament, but while being an emotionally driven child, he also has a strong passion for righteousness, as he scolds Hannes for drinking on the job and not taking his position more seriously. It's revealed that Eren's will is to be a scout and venture beyond the walls to aid in securing humanity's freedom. We're given insight into how Eren views life inside the walls and his opinion on the world beyond them. Later, after returning home, we're introduced to Aaron's family, his mother and father, and what both of them think of his career choice. Although Aaron is determined and passionate, he lacks physical strength and often relies on Mikasa to protect him. In the following scene, we meet Armin, Aaron's closest friend, and as they sit together under the setting sun, we gain deeper insight into Aaron's character and personality.
What most people here are willing to settle for in exchange for some fleeting sense of security.
This moment further illuminates his vulnerabilities and ambitions, enriching our understanding of his motivations. In the first episode, we follow Aaron from morning until evening, spending the entire day with him as we become acquainted with his family, friends, and peers. The episode unfolds with a melodic and relaxed pace, allowing us to immerse ourselves in Aaron's world and character before the climactic moment that brings the tone of the story to a turning point. The story provides substantial insight into Aaron's character, his personality, aspirations, perspectives, conflicts, and the friendship he shares with Mikasa and Armin. Though we're aware of the Titans and the basic function of the walls, we don't get any exposition on the lore until the following episodes. The first episode remains focused on Aaron and the people around him. While the first episode of Death Note provides some exposition on Ryuk's character, its primary focus remains on Light, with Ryuk functioning as a crucial extension of Light's development. The narrative begins by highlighting Light's distaste and boredom with the world and those around him, whom he feels as rotten.
Day in and day out. The same news on permanent repeat.
A sentiment that mirrors Ryuk's own cynical outlook. Light is portrayed as a top student, one of Japan's brightest, yet he appears indifferent to this prestigious status. His detachment is subtly illustrated in the scenes where he sits idly by the window in class and his walk home from school in a state of ennui. Despite his academic dedication and the support of a loving, proud mother, Light's life feels devoid of interest. After acquiring the Death Note, a shift occurs, and the audience is given a different perspective on Light's character. Light's eyes light up with newfound purpose, as his obsession with the notebook provides him with a greater ambition beyond the monotony of his daily life. In the episode's closing moments, Light boldly declares his intent is to become the god of the new world, capturing the audience's attention and sparking intrigue as to how Light's character will evolve from here. The strength of Death Note lies in its suspense and mystery. So much of Light's character is shrouded in ambiguity. Despite this, the narrative still dedicates attention to establishing Light's identity and psychological profile, offering enough insight to anchor the audience in his motivations and mindset while maintaining an air of intrigue around his development. Through this first episode, we are given lots of context to Light's worldview, desires, and motivations. We're not introduced to L in the rivalry of wits that ensue until the next episode. Once again, the first episode revolves around the protagonist. Nothing provides closure and completes a story's experience more effectively than an ending that mirrors its beginning. This concept can be challenging to articulate, and I plan to create a future video dedicated entirely to it. However, I will aim to explain the basic principle thoroughly enough for you to grasp in this video. I should preface this by stating that this is the most essential and important factor to creating the perfect first episode. To use a poor analogy, this is the icing on the cake. While the other elements form the foundation, this is the one to elevate your story to truly impactful heights. The pilot episode is a glimpse into what the story will become. In this sense, the first episode functions as a self-contained narrative, almost independent from the larger story. For this reason, the first episode should provide closure and a solid conclusion. The most effective approach is to bring the episode full circle, with the ending referencing or calling back to the beginning. This can be achieved either directly or indirectly. The direct approach involves repeating the same scene at both the beginning and the end. The indirect approach, on the other hand, presents different scenes or events that, while not identical, are similar enough for the audience to recognize a sense of familiarity and thematic continuity. In the beginning of Chainsaw Man, Denji is resting in his broken-down abode with Pochita. As he pensively introspects on his life and current situation, he exclaims his wish for betterment. His life is so bad that he can't even have the most basic of pleasures. As he shares his stale bread with Pochita, he wistfully remarks on his simple desires, to have bread with jam and to experience the touch and embrace of a woman.
Gonna put jam on all my bread, then I'll lay on the charm and flirt with a girl.
At the end of the episode, Denji is rescued by Makima. As he is about to fall backwards from his exhaustion, Makima catches him in a tight embrace. She tells him that a better life awaits him if he chooses to follow her. He asks what's for breakfast, to which Makima replies, bread with butter and jam, salad, coffee. That sounds awesome, remarks Denji. It's like a dream come true. The episode ends here. This is an indirect approach to having the ending mirror the beginning. In this example, the conclusion of the first episode subtly calls back to its opening, providing a sense of closure and completeness. The audience experiences a feeling of nostalgia and catharsis as the episode comes full circle, with Denji's initial wish being fulfilled by the episode's end. The opening scene of Attack on Titan shows 3 children looking up towards the towering Titan looming above them. Silence fills the air, and dialogue is voiced describing the terror of being at the mercy of these monsters, and the feeling of being trapped inside a cage.
奴らに支配されていた恐怖を鳥かごの中に囚われていた。
At the episode's climax, we are reintroduced to this earlier scene, but this time with context. We know the identities of the three children, Aaron, Mikasa, and Armin, and the meaning behind the dialogue as it plays again at the very end of the episode.
奴らに支配されていた恐怖を鳥かごの中に囚われていた。屈辱を。
This return to the scene deepens the emotional weight of the moment, allowing the audience to fully grasp its significance. This is a direct approach to having the ending mirror the beginning, as the exact same scene is repeated twice. In the beginning, the scene's purpose is to create suspense and intrigue, drawing the audience in. At the episode's conclusion, the purpose of the scene is to resolve the mystery and provide the audience with a sense of closure. Death Note takes an indirect approach to this technique. The start of Death Note begins with Ryuk and Light mirroring themselves as they monologue on the humdrum society for which they exist in. Both are exhausted of life and view the world as rotten. At the end of the episode, Light declares he will become the god of the new world, and Ryuk clenches his fist, remarking on how humans are so interesting. This moment references the beginning when Ryuk dropped the Death Note into the human world out of boredom because he sought after something more worthwhile to his existence. Similarly, for Light, the Death Note provides a new ambition and purpose, one where he can take action against the rotten world he loathes. The episode's ending mirrors the beginning by transitioning from both of the characters' mundane lives to a point where they now possess something far more significant. This brings the story full circle as we see the internal conflict they both wrestled with in the beginning now resolved. This offers a sense of closure while maintaining the audience's anticipation for what lies ahead. It's time to move from worrying about the first 10 pages to realizing it's the first page that counts, then the second, then the third. In fact, it's the first beat that counts, the first sentence, the first word. The first episode is of paramount importance as its success is pivotal for the success of the narrative as a whole. This is an innate truth of storytelling. Despite the contemporary popularity of the 3-episode rule, it should require no more than a single episode to captivate the audience. No credible writer will tell you differently. Chainsaw Man did not need more than 1 episode. Attack on Titan did not need more than 1 episode. Death Note did not need more than 1 episode. No story needs more than 1 episode. To have otherwise is the exception and not the standard. Think about it. If you need to create a rule that allows the writers more time to develop their story, it indicates that the writers are failing to properly establish the characters and story in a way that hooks the audience right from the beginning. Now, I understand anime is a little different because an episode only has around a 24-minute runtime. So if you wish to give an anime more time to develop, by all means that is your prerogative. More power to you. I'm aware there's a plethora of amazing anime that have very slow prologues. However, from a writing perspective, the foundation of a masterful story lies in crafting a perfect first episode. I believe that anime such as Chainsaw Man, Attack on Titan, and Death Note exemplify the qualities of a perfect first episode through 3 key factors: emotional impact, character-driven narrative, and an ending that mirrors the beginning. These 3 anime use these elements flawlessly in order to create an impactful, engaging, and meaningful experience. Hopefully I articulated all these points coherently enough and was entertaining enough for you to make it to the end. I'm still new to YouTube and am trying to improve my editing and presentation with each video. I'm still struggling to nail the dichotomy between being educational and entertaining, with most of my videos, especially my last one, being too pedantic. Please let me know in the comments what you think of this video. My channel is dedicated to the importance of stories. I take what I believe to be the greatest stories through various mediums and analyze their meanings in order to provide significance to our lives. I believe the proper stories become a gateway to living a virtuous and harmonious life. If you wish to be enlightened and bettered by storytelling, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other content, like this one where I explain how a story resonates with you. Nonetheless, thank you for watching this video.